Once upon a time in a cozy cottage nestled amidst a blooming garden, there lived an old man and an old woman. They had no children of their own, but they deeply yearned to become parents. One day while tending to her flower pots on the windowsill, the old woman noticed that one of her flowers, a beautiful yellow flower, had produced only one tiny bud. As she carefully examined the flower, she couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of longing to have a child as small and delicate as this flower bud. Gazing at the bud, she wished with all her heart, "Oh, if only this bud could become a little girl," as if responding to her heartfelt desire. The flower bud began to glow with a magical light. The old woman, filled with astonishment and anticipation, rushed to water the flower, hoping to nurture whatever magic was about to unfold. And as she did, a tiny human figure emerged from the bud. It was a little girl, no bigger than the tip of her thumb. Absolutely delighted, the old woman cradled the baby, naming her Thumbelina, which means little daughter. The news of the birth of a baby girl who was no bigger than a thumb quickly spread throughout the kingdom. People from far and wide came to visit her, marveling at the sight of such a tiny human being. Among them were a king and queen who were desperately seeking a child to carry on their bloodline. Upon seeing Thumbelina, they were immediately captivated by her and asked the old woman and the old man if they would be willing to give her up for adoption. Overjoyed at the prospect of Thumbelina living in the palace, the couple readily agreed. The king and queen welcomed Thumbelina into their home, where she became the center of attention. Servants were tasked with making her a miniature bed out of a walnut shell, complete with a quilt fashioned from a spider's web and curtains made from a leaf. Every morning, a maid would bathe Thumbelina in a drop of milk, and she would play with dolls made from grains of wheat or watch in amusement as mice rode on the backs of ladybugs like horses. The royal family showered her with affection, but the king and queen couldn't help but worry about the challenges Thumbelina would face in a world that wasn't built for someone her size. As Thumbelina grew older, her extraordinary smallness became both a blessing and a curse. While she could easily fit into the palm of someone's hand, it meant that ordinary objects like chairs, tables, and beds were far too large for her to use. Everything in her world was gigantic. The king and queen, driven by their boundless love for their daughter, called upon some of the most skilled craftsmen in the kingdom to create furniture and clothing suitable for Thumbelina's tiny stature. But no matter how much effort they put into making her life comfortable, the harsh reality remained. Thumbelina couldn't enjoy the luxuries of the palace the way any other child would. She longed to experience the simple joys of childhood, like playing with regular toys without the constant fear of breaking them accidentally. One evening, overwhelmed with sadness, Thumbelina confided in her mother, pouring out her heart and expressing her deep-seated desire to be just an ordinary girl. Her parents, touched by her heartfelt plea, gathered the kingdom's wisest advisors to find a solution. They brainstormed ways to make Thumbelina's life more bearable, but nothing seemed adequate enough. Just when all hope appeared to be lost, an old woman, known throughout the land for her magical abilities, stepped forward with a peculiar suggestion. She proposed that Thumbelina should marry a similarly tiny individual so that she wouldn't always feel alone and different. Although this idea seemed unconventional, the king and queen were desperate to find happiness for their daughter, so they readily agreed. And so began the search for a suitable match for Thumbelina. The old woman cast a spell, causing all the nearby flowers to close their petals, trapping insects of various sizes inside. The king's servants collected the trapped insects and brought them before Thumbelina, who examined each one to see if they would be a good fit for her. Among them was a beetle, a fly, a mosquito, and a plump bumblebee. Thumbelina politely interacted with each insect, but none of them sparked a genuine connection. Disappointed, she retreated to her room, unsure if she would ever find someone who understood her unique situation. Just then, a tiny voice caught her attention. It was a mole who had accidentally stumbled upon Thumbelina's garden. Thumbelina invited the mole to come inside, and they soon discovered that they had a lot in common. Despite their differences in appearance, they both felt like outsiders looking in from the rest of the world. The mole admired Thumbelina's grace and kindness, while Thumbelina appreciated the mole's wit and understanding. As they spent more time together, they realized that they had found something truly special in each other. It didn't take long for Thumbelina and the mole to fall in love. They decided to get married, and the entire kingdom buzzed with excitement. News of the upcoming nuptials reached the ears of a toad who was notorious for tricking unsuspecting young women into marrying him. In his mind, Thumbelina would be the perfect addition to his collection of many wives. He concocted a plan to lure her away from the wedding festivities, believing that she would become his bride. On the day of the wedding, as everyone was gathered in the garden, the toad approached Thumbelina and asked her to help find his lost ring, which he claimed had fallen into a nearby watering can. Trusting and ever helpful, Thumbelina agreed to assist him. However, the moment she leaned over the watering can to look for the ring, the toad swiftly grabbed her and jumped into the water with her in his grasp. Panicked, Thumbelina struggled to free herself from his tight grip, knowing that if he reached the water first, she might never escape. With a burst of energy, she managed to push the toad away, allowing her to surface while he was left thrashing in the water. Gasping for breath, she quickly swam to a patch of land and collapsed on it, utterly exhausted. But the ordeal had taken its toll on her strength, and she was too weak to stand up. Suddenly, a friendly beetle offered her a ride on its back to the safety of the garden. As she was being carried away, the angry toad emerged from the water and confronted the beetle, demanding that Thumbelina be returned to him. But the beetle, along with several other insects who had witnessed the entire incident, refused. They argued that the toad had acted unjustly towards Thumbelina and that she deserved to be with someone who treated her with kindness and respect. The commotion attracted the attention of Thumbelina's family and friends, who rushed to her aid. They scolded the toad for his deceitful and manipulative behavior, reminding him that his reputation as a trickster was well known throughout the land. Humiliated and ashamed, the toad slunk away, realizing that his evil scheme had been foiled once again. In the end, Thumbelina's wedding went ahead as planned, and she and the mole exchanged vows in a beautiful ceremony. Their love for each other grew stronger with each passing day, and they lived happily ever after, proving that true love can conquer all obstacles. And now here is a little life lesson for children from this story. Life isn't always fair. Sometimes we are born with conditions or circumstances that make our lives difficult. However, even in challenging situations, it is important to remain kind and helpful towards others because we never know what struggles they might be facing themselves. True happiness comes not from wealth or status, but from the love and support of those around us. Always remember to treat others with respect and compassion, and never lose hope in finding your happily ever after. This is the end of the video. If you liked our version of this classic fairy tale, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. We also have many other enchanting stories on our channel. Click here to watch one of our previous videos and get ready to be whisked away on a magical journey through enchanting tales.